This is the XYZ Breakfast Show. Now, it looks as if it was something that we saw coming. I personally had phone calls from very concerned Muslims who were asking the question, what happens should the chief imam should the chief imam join the ancestors when it is called by Allah to join him there in heaven? Hopefully, we believe. What happens after he's left us? Basically, that's the question. And I've been thinking about this for some time now, because what we have been told that there's some very point is that we don't have any laid down structure when it comes to who succeeds the chief imam. And the fear is that we may see clashes among Muslim sects in choosing whoever succeeds the chief imam, that Dr. Sheikh Osman Nuhu Shaributu. We're told that apparently there's some kind of a seething struggle among the various sects in the country over who should succeed the 91-year-old chief imam, and that certainly is not the kind of news that we want to hear as Muslims. And so we have invited a very popular, well-educated, call him Islamic scholar, or a very prominent person within the Islamic community, and that's Alhaj Razzaq Khailann, who's joined us in the studio to help us appreciate how important and how serious really this issue is, and maybe whether he can even help us with some kind of a history. I think this is about our second or third chief imam. I mean, I honestly stand to be corrected. And how has it been in the past, and what is going to be different with this one, based on which we need to start discussing this matter. But we woke up one morning and read in the in the news wires that a political science or Islamic political analyst, that's IRBAD IBRAHIM, actually is warning that if nothing is done about this chief imam's issue or chief imam's successor matter, it could lead to chaos. And so what we've done is that before we talk to Alhaj Khailann, we would just briefly talk to IRBAD Ibrahim, who is an expert on international relation, diplomacy, security. But for the purposes of this discussion, he's an Islamic political analyst, to tell us what was it that triggered the comment that he made, and what he suggests should be the way forward. But before that, let me say a very good morning to Alhaj Razzaq Khailann. Alhaj Razzaq Khailann, good morning.
Good morning to you, Awudu.
And I hope you're doing very well, sir.
I'm good.
Happy New Year. It's always a pleasure having you in your studio.
Sure.
Thank you very much for joining us.
It's a great feeling to be here as
wonderful,
well.
Wonderful. Let me go to my guest on the phone now to start the conversation with, and then I come back in house. We're going to 10, so we have quite a bit of time, and I would open the phone lines at a quarter to 10 as well, so that people can phone in and contribute. In fact, the phone lines, please put these numbers down before we open the phone lines. It's 0289 000931 and also 0289 931 000. So you can either choose to call the 028 000-931 or 0289-931-000, or you can actually call 0261 168 634. IRBAD Ibrahim, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
How are you doing this morning, sir?
I'm great, thank you.
We woke up one morning and read the story, and in the media that you expressing fears that finding the chief imam's successor could lead to some kind of crisis, chaos, anarchy, for lack of other synonyms. But what was it that triggered this statement, IRBAD?
I think when you look at the tapestry of the world's geopolitics today, political Islam has become so relevant. The U.S. State Department spends more on counterterrorism today than it does in parrying of any potential danger from even China, Russia, or North Korea. So I think the discussion is quite germane to the discourse on global security, and in our case, national security. certainly a degeneration in Islamic leadership in any jurisdiction could be a recipe for extremism. A case in point is Somalia, when in 1991 Siad Barre was toppled, when there was no proper Islamic leadership in the country. The country went into the abyss of, instability. And to this date, Somalia is still a failed state. And so Nigeria, because of lack of proper Muslim leadership in the Borno state, in the northeast of the country, I think that degeneration was the midwife that oversaw the birth of Boko Haram. And Boko Haram has put Nigeria on the precipice of a full-blown civil war. So therefore, a country like ours that has a very important Muslim leader who embodies peace, embodies patience, embodies intra- and inter-religious tolerance, cannot afford to sit aloof and be off guard as there isn't any proper succession plan. So all in all, I sought to raise awareness about the fact that the National Chief Imam is a good man. That old man is serving as glue that brings together all the various Muslim sects in this country. So therefore, because there isn't any legislative or constitutional backing to his office, you can't even find the registration of the office with the Registrar General's Department. If it is there, in what format is it registered? Is it a public organization or is it a private entity? And who are the shareholders? Is it an NGO and all that? So to give it the needed legality and legitimacy, as well as to fend off any potential rancor among the various Muslim sects, I believe that the state should have a stake in this, and we should start the debate while the old man is still alive. And for those who think this is a taboo topic, and mooting this subject means anticipating the imminent demise of that old man, I believe the argument is quite more, because even in the Holy Quran, way before the Holy Prophet was called by Allah, Allah had told him to plan. Allah says in the Quran, وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِ الرُّسُلِ أَفَإِن مَاتَ أَوْ قُتِلَ انقلبتم وَمَن ينقلب على عقبيه فلن يضر الله شيئا وسيجزي الله الشاكرين. Muhammad is no more than a messenger, and before him came other messengers. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So if he dies or is killed in battle, would you renege on your commitment to Islam? Anybody who does that should know that the person will do no harm to Allah, and Allah will reward those who are patient. So the man is 91. He's a very good man. Whenever he's asked who his successor should be, he points to a man who is much older than he is, Sheikh Kamaluddin. So in the long term, I believe that some 2, 3, 5 decades down the line, even if Kamaluddin is able to fill that political vacuum, I'm sure there will be jostling for that power, because the office has become so juicy. The first become National Chief Imam means you are guaranteed 4-wheel drives, and many people will have a stake in this. So if the older generation do not plan as to what the succession to the office is going to be, if not in the imminent future, in the distant future, there will be national implications for the nation. So this is no longer a Muslim issue. It's a national issue. Therefore, all hands should be on deck in seeking a long-lasting solution to the issue of a lack of a proper succession plan.
I see. You mentioned that one of the ways to deal with this matter is for us to give it some kind of a legislative backing. Now, who should be initiating this move?
The National Chief Imam's Office should do that. Young people like us who have found that security lacuna in the apparatus of the office have given the lead. We don't have an interest in this. I believe so well that when you even look at the other denominations we have in various religious bodies, Catholics are Catholics. They have the right to choose who becomes their leader. And the Protestants can do the same in whatever shape or color they may be, whether they are Pentecostals or Presbyterians and all that. And charismatic churches can do as well. But this is the office of the National Chief Imam. It's not for the Tijanis alone, it's not for the Al-Sunnah, not for the Ahmadis, it's for the whole of the Muslim community. And therefore, when you look at even the kind of the that office got during the Rawlings era, I think Ghana itself was in transition. It was transmogrifying into a long-term dictatorship, into a multi-party democracy. When Rawlings prayed with Muslims that an Eid, and then he called the Imam to the national chief Imam, and the name has come to stay. And he took over the reins of that position from Sheikh Imam Muntari. And ever since, there hasn't been any clear-cut succession plan. So therefore, if the leaders who are in the office of the national chief Imam can initiate the discourse, it will be a lot helpful.
I see, but there's a fundamental question I'm going to asking, and then before who actually chose? I mean, how did we get a national chief imam in the first place? And if we do have a national chief imam, what it means is that there is a structure that gave birth to this national chief imam. So why are we worried? I mean, as for the issues about giving it a legislative backing, that's one aspect of it. But if the fear is that getting a successor will be a problem, how did we get the national chief imam then in the first place?
I think in your preamble, you pointed to the fact that there is Alhaj Khailann in the studio.
Right,
he belongs to that crop of, opinion leaders in the community. And I know Alhaj knows very well the integrity of what really went down in that selection.
Sure,
so I leave that to him.
Hey, can I deal with that?
You remember so well, during the Kalabule era, there was a mosque in Accra Central. That was, the de facto central mosque of the Muslim community in Accra. It was raised down. So to placate the Muslim community, the PNDC era leadership gave them what we have at Abu Sokai currently. So it was as a result of the instrumentality of Jerry Rawlings and the fact that he was seen as a man who understood and who empathized with the Muslim community and even gave us 2 holidays for Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. So the fact that he called the national chief imam the national chief imam, and that title national chief imam is nowhere else in the world. What we have in other Arab countries is the position of the Grand Mufti. So therefore, if in other jurisdictions there are laid-down structures for that selection, I believe so well that there should be a semblance of that in this country. And ours is a very conservative society. Longevity is what we look at. The elders amongst us are those who are seen as the most qualified for positions. So therefore, moving forward, I believe that the parameters should be set. If you want to be national chief imam, to be the first Muslim gentleman in that country, what level of secular education should you have? What level of Islamic education should you have? What are you a consensus figure we can all rally around, or are you the divisive type and all that? And I believe so well that we can leave this to the old people. They belong to a certain generation, and a lot has happened in the past 3 decades or so. So therefore, whatever internal mechanism they had in that selection, today the office is not as it was some 30 years ago. It has become much more juicier. Everybody has understood that the national chief imam represents a very huge constituency. That is why both incumbents and aspiring presidents are making overtures to that office. So that tells you the importance of that office, and therefore we should all have a stake in this, so that we don't, get to this country, go down the line that has been treaded by other countries elsewhere.
I see, but the thing is, my final question to you would be about it, because I know you're a very busy man. You would have expected that for such a critical matter that bothers on the future of Islam in this country, we should hear more and more prominent people, even the office of the National Chief Imam, be seen to be taking the lead in correcting some of these problems. But we don't seem to be seeing that. I mean, it looks as if it's just a few people who are voicing out and are speaking out and showing this concern. I mean, is that something that that concerns you as well?
Yeah, there's a huge deficiency in the office, and I think we can't run away from that fact. The office of the National Chief Imam should not be bordering on the ecumenical alone. We need to be seeing some pragmatic things take place. I'll give you a case in point. When the Chibok tragedy happened, I expected the office of the National Chief Imam to give a comprehensive press release on the position of Muslims in this country and other Muslims within the sub-region about the insanity and arbitrary abduction of innocent girls that had gone to seek education, knowing so well that the Prophet had said, طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم. seeking knowledge is an obligation on every Muslim, regardless of the person's gender. So it went silent. Nobody spoke about it, apart from the individualistic efforts that were made by commentators here and there. There wasn't any structured statement coming from the office of the National Chief Imam. So therefore, I think to be able to preempt and be proactive enough, we need more than people who only know the Quran and the Hadith. We need to know, we get people who are abreast of the current times, our contemporary times. And the time for us to wake up and smell the coffee is now, because we may face an existential threat if the right things are not done. And I may not call myself a scholar, but I know so much about Islam. I virtually know everything about the Holy Quran in the original text. And I know so well that an imam is more than a spiritual leader. We should be able to have technocrats supporting the National Chief Imam. We should be able to present papers, policy issues, which should also be discussed by the office of the National Chief Imam. So we will not always be on the periphery on national decision making. Most of the time, we only come out and say there are Muslims in high school that have not gotten the opportunity to pray because certain mission schools are preventing them from doing that. We only come out in times of crisis. We have a stake in this country. We are Ghanaians. Muslims have lived in this country for more than a millennium. We have indications that even Islam came to this country before Christianity did. The name Ghana even is close to an Arabic word Ghani, which means rich. So for the fact that the Arab merchants found gold in this country, called this country Ghana, and giving it the name of the old Ghanaian empire that included Mali, Niger, and other parts of the sub-region. And so therefore, for as long as we are a part and parcel of this country, we should have a representative that would speak to the needs of the Muslim community, regardless of our sex. So therefore, I believe that this discussion is germane, and the time to have the debate is now, rather than later.
I see. We're going to dedicate the whole of this week to this. On every day, to look at a different angle to this matter. The whole point is to try and see if we can arrive at some kind of a consensus on this matter, because we just don't want to talk about it and we'll leave it hanging and then nothing happens. Anyway, IRBAD, thank you so much for talking to us. We would call you up some other time. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome, my brother. Bye.
Okay, have a good day, sir. That's IRBAD Ibrahim, who's an expert on international relations, diplomacy, and security, and also an Islamic political analyst, talking to us this morning. Alhaj Khailann is here. Alhaji, I find it very worrying that, as we speak, we don't, as a society, have a very properly laid down structure in appointing or electing or selecting or whatever, I don't know which would apply in this context, who our next National Chief Imam is. But the question I've asked is, if there isn't any laid down procedure, how did we get this Chief Imam?
Yeah, okay.
This current one.
Yeah, that's quite a legitimate question there. And, there was a kind of a system some time ago, which ushered the incumbent, Dr. Nuhu Sharbut into that office, It all started, like you said, much earlier on but Alhaj Mutari, Mutari was in there, as a chief imam, But there was
this is way back
way back
in the 60s, 50s.
Sure. Much earlier.
Much earlier,
right?
Okay.
So at a point he started getting a bit physically, incapacitated.
Right.
It caught up with him and some sickness as well, So No Sharabutu, being one of his very well organized and a profound, chap,
right,
in terms of the religiosity, was actually asked to act,
in that capacity.
So it was in the acting capacity where some very well. You see, let me tell you what issues of selecting, nominating, or electing imam is issue which lies within the bosom of the Muslim chiefs.
Muslim chiefs?
That's right.
Really?
Not the clergies in our Ghanaian situation. Not the clergies, not the ulamas,
Muslim chiefs are the ones who are supposed to be giving us...
Correct. In their communities, they will look at the people who had the right caliber, who have the right qualification and disposition to occupy them. At least has to come with the piety, and the chiefs has a responsibility in looking at and
identifying that.
So in the case of Nuhu Sharabutu, as he was acting, some well-meaning chiefs, under the leadership of Alhaj Bawa Kadri English, who was then the chief of the Hausa community in Accra.
Right.
Got into his cabinet into motion, and they believed that Sheikh Nuhu Sharbu should be turbaned, as the chief imam.
Okay.
So along the line, I think during the revolution, there was a need, through the prompting of the government, that all religious bodies need to be registered. Okay. That's what IRBAD was talking about, whether it was it's truly registered, and it was really registered in the name of Dini Islam, which is the national chief imam champion, So as the things were rolling on, there was a need to establish that office of the national chief imam.
Right.
So if there are some people who are actually giving us a problem now, who raising this level of anxiety, is the Muslim chiefs. They're not properly organized.
Okay.
And I'm not ashamed at all, to mention it. That they're not organized. And I'll put the whole thing at the doorstep of the Kadri family, English Kadri family.
Okay.
Because they are supposed to be leading the role, to make sure that, because antecedents has it that, like I told you earlier on, when it was a Bawa Kadri, English, who actually led the way to establish this nationalism. So I was thinking personally that
because of the instrumental role they've played,
correct.
They would have carried on. They would have, yeah.
Even at the day of his turban, there was some furore around that. Hey, they went to the police. Some people went to the police headquarters that something was going to happen which will cause disturbances, like apprehensions.
Right.
But the chief Bawa stood his ground, went to the police and told them there's nothing happening. We are doing a very well organized, incident-free activity.
Right.
And they were true to his words. National Chief Imam was actually turban, as the occupant of the seat.
Of the seat.
So I'm going to say that.
Yeah, but that kind of system will not work now, will it?
No, it won't. It wouldn't work. But
what's different this time around, Alhaji?
You see, of course, the dynamics of
have
life,
changed, right?
And you see, all over the world, we don't have that office of National Chief Imam as an institution.
Okay,
that's a uniqueness, We need to. If there's anybody in this country who's really, really worried about this situation, the potentially explosive situation which will come, is the old man himself.
Which is the national chief. Okay, he himself. Trust me. Are you in touch with him?
Seriously, I have a special relationship
with him.
If I walk to National Chief Imam's house today and I want to have conversation with him, whoever is there, he would tell the person to excuse us.
I see. And that's how close the two of you are.
Sure. He's told me a lot about these issues, and people around him are not helping him in any way. They're rather exploiting the man.
Why would they exploit him? They are there to work.
You see, the man is so vulnerable. I must be honest with you.
No, but
he's an impressionable person, very wonderful person who wouldn't want to hurt a fly.
So there isn't people he can trust in his office?
Let me tell you what. His kitchen cabinet, or the composition of the ulamas and the clergies around him,
right?
Almost each and everyone around there sees himself as a potential, successor
of the national chief imam.
So the moment you try to raise the issue, it's like, oh man, it's a no-go zone.
Right.
As if the man wouldn't die. Even the Prophet Rasulullah who brought he
died.
He died.
Right.
So the biggest service we can do to this man is to look to be very organized and create a pathway as to who his successor will be. We have had occasion with some very good friends to establish to trigger these issues.
Okay.
At one time, I remember we had this platform at the Zenith College.
Okay.
The guy there was the name
Jibrin
was so generous. He gave us the auditorium.
Okay.
He even fed us, and we came out with a succession. We want to create a succession plan.
Right.
We invited all the imams and the chiefs into that, auditorium, and we sensitized them as to what is facing us as Muslims in this country.
And to brainstorm and look at the way forward.
They bought into it 110%. They were so excited. We brought Mr. Alhaj Asmaba, that was the chairman of the occasion. Dr. Alhazan, former Bank of Ghana governor, deputy, was there. Top clergies like Alhaji, just mention it. They were all there. They came all over the country. It was a beautiful thing.
Okay.
A day or two after this thing, after the event, this exposition, some dodgy characters, went in line, got some media chaps to flush in the front of the newspaper. I remember it was a Mirror that the national chief imam resigns, and they tailored it towards towards the event, just to run the whole thing. There are 2 million diabolical people within the office and the periphery of the national chief imam.
So the case is, Alhaji, what you're saying is that if any structure is put in place, that will not serve their purpose.
Not at all.
But the current status, the status quo now serve their purpose because people can just bulldoze their way out.
Correct.
And occupy the seat.
Like a bull in a china shop.
Right.
That's the way.
Right. So the situation as we see it, the status quo favors some persons who are around the chief imam.
Like I told you.
And so it will not be in their interest for us to...
Not at all. To create a well-organized structure. And transparent structure.
Right.
Like I told you earlier on, almost every one of them sees itself as a potential successor.
But that's dangerous.
They have their own constituencies who are doing the shenanigans for them. They think we don't know. We all know about this thing. But you see, a few times, we try to raise hell. The old man will call me, Alhaji, please, you write to them, call for a meeting. Look, there was a day he called me, when Dansuma having some funeral, and he sent one of his very able lieutenant, Yahya Al-Amin, to look for me.
Right.
So the man told me, the old man wants to see you. I went there. The old man said to me, look, Alhaj Razzaq, I have problem. What are you guys doing to create something?
Right.
So I want to task you with this to see what you can best do to bring some sanity into the front. So I said, okay, no, sure, to God and country, I got one chap who happened to be his executive secretary in his office, and we tried to get in touch with all the Muslim imams around the country because we have a database, of the sports too. In the course of all these things, one Alhaji Gado, you must have heard about it.
Right, Alhaji Gado.
He quickly went and assembled some people trying to do the same thing. So the woman said, now, you should need to call Alhaj Razzaq Khailann because I've already had this clear discussion with him. And he has started doing something so that you can harmonize, whatever activities you have to do, So the woman called me specifically, look, there's going to be a meeting today. So go in there and see what will happen. So I went in there. Moro, I was totally disgusted by the behavior of particularly this Alhaji Gado man.
Well, because he's not here, let's not make any cast any aspersions at him. That won't be fair to him. Because if somebody sat in the studio and cast aspersions at you,
my heart on my chest.
Right.
Disassociate your situation from whatever I'm going to say.
Yeah, but there's a limit to which we can. Let's just say this gentleman. If you don't have to mention his name,
we have a lot of people in there who, for whatever reason, they don't want to see anything good coming out. I'm telling you.
But so then, who should be calling these persons to order? The thing about it is this: beyond, why can't, for instance, the office of the national chief imam, where I'm sure you say he himself will not be doing the right thing, but who are the key administrators who must be, for instance, writing to, say, the national security, the interior ministry, and saying that we have a situation, we need your help? Or because I've also heard people say that when it comes to religious matters, you always want to take, you don't want government interference. But as you've all said, and as you've said, and as IRBAD has also said, this matter is not, it's gone beyond the Muslim community. It's a national
security problem.
Exactly. It's a national issue. So now that we all agree that it's a national issue, why don't we rope in the people who make the nation tick, the government? You are part of you and are part of the government, but you don't think we should, for instance, involve national security? We should involve the interior ministry? Maybe your group can do that, right? Officially to the powers that be, informing them about what can befall the nation if they do not move in and do something about this.
No. If you want to talk about national security, it will be an indictment.
No, I'm not saying. Do they know?
They know. A few times we had meetings in the national.
And what have they done? They'll say it's a religious matter.
You see, it's a very nervous issue. The Muslim.
It's a delicate issue.
Muslim community need to set the pace. Then we can invite them in. But we just sit down, fold our arms as if. I
was asking about this question that how come an issue like this, which is of grave importance, as germane as it is, sees only just a few people talking about it?
You see, I just told you earlier on, there are people who have personal interest around this old man. The moment you open your own, say, hey, please, this thing, this.
But what's your interest, Alhaji?
My interest is to put sanity.
You don't have a preference as to who becomes the national chief imam?
I don't think I have the capacity. I told you earlier, in a community in this country, people who have the responsibility to nominate chiefs, select chiefs,
are not doing their work.
Are the chiefs.
And they are disorganized.
But they don't look responsible enough. I'm
0289 000.
So you see,
I'm just acknowledging that, then I'll come back to you. 0289 000 931. Especially the key. And this one is prominent Muslims out there. You may not necessarily be prominent, but if you're a Muslim out there who's very worried about this or probably concerned, or you have some ideas as to how we can resolve this matter, please do call us on 0289 000 931 and 0289 931 000. So you can either call 0289 000 931 or 0289 931 000. Yes, Alhaji, you're on the floor.
Yeah,
I wait for the calls to come through.
I was telling you that, look,
right,
it's the responsibility of the chiefs. You see, anywhere in a Ghanaian community, is the chiefs. When you go to a local setting,
yeah, but Alhaji, if the chiefs are not doing their work,
no, we need to whip them into action. We need to whip them into action, because you see, we are facing a very delicate situation now. All right. We can't even just on a whimper invite the national security. We haven't gotten there. I heard about talking about the things in this Somalia, blah, blah, blah. Those are issues with political undertones. We don't have it here. It's something we have the capacity to deal with. It's just that people who are supposed to do it are not looking into that direction for whatever reason.
Right.
Like I said, the Kadri English family needs to make a move.
You mean they need to set up?
They need to make a move. They're slipping, actually. I feel so hurt about it.
Let me
hold on, because we know what their fathers did in making Islam look good in this country.
Right.
You see? And they should lead the show.
Let me go to Jan. I've got Jan on the line who's calling us from, I think it's Dan actually, from Banana Inn. Dan, good morning. Hello, Dan. Good morning.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. Thank you very much.
Yes, you're on air.
I'm very glad you raised this very serious issue which will affect us nationally if nothing is done. For the few years that I had to cover, assignments with regard to these Muslim activities, these Kadri English people have played a very, honorable roles. I don't see how somewhere along the line such a thing should degenerate. So what we could do is to, like you're suggesting, they should let the national security know and see how we can address the situation before it gets out of hand. And I'm praying that the English is to please, take their very responsible rules and act according as they have done in the past. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. Dan is my first caller. It's also very. He's not a Muslim. I don't think so, but obviously very concerned as well. Let me go to Abdul from Nima. Abdul, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Abdul.
Yeah, very good morning to my big brother, Alhaj Khailani. And I think this is the right time that we should be talking about this issue. It's long overdue, but I think better late than never. And I think the phenomenon of stakeholdership is what should reign now. The world has moved. 50 years, you cannot be talking about systems that prevailed 50 years ago that we should be operating with now. So the phenomenon of stakeholder, of course, the chiefs are a key stakeholder within the Muslim community. So, Alhaj Khailann, I think we have to walk the talk now. Many times when people raise this issue, like he said, and like my brother Iqbal said, certain people have certain, bad feelings about that issue. But it's like we bury our head in the sand, thinking that things are okay. And we all know that things are not okay. Issues about the Office of the National Chief Imam have been talked about not today. And like he's saying, we should move and help the old man. If we know that we are sitting on the 10 bomb, why should we be sleeping? It's so irresponsible on the part of Muslims in this country. There are so many issues. I know Alhaj Khailann is aware. And nobody should think that anybody has any hidden agenda for anything. The world has moved. We have a constitution in this country. That should even teach us that without a constitution, there will be chaos.
But I've heard people say that those of us who are having this discussion are jumping the gun. The man is alive. Why are we already talking about who succeeds him and how his succession plan is going to look like?
That is precisely the issue. You have to put in place a system so that nobody hijacks anything and it becomes a problem.
But there's supposed to be a system, Abdul. Chiefs are supposed to be at the forefront of determining for us who should be our next chief imam. It's not our responsibility.
That is why I'm calling on my brother, my big brother, to let us walk the talk now. We talk too much when we know that we need to act. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I get you.
The Office of National Chief Imam is there. Well, whether it is well structured or not, that is what we have. We should all move there and help the system and streamline things. We should have a document that will give a succession plan in place. You cannot talk of today Islam in Ghana without talking of Shiites. Because this is a purely religious matter. And every Muslim will have a stake in this. We just have to, after all, we have a list of stakeholders that we can work around with them.
Right.
So it is like we are just talking and we are not acting.
Okay.
Please.
All right. Abdul, thank you so much for calling. Thank you. And I'm told I've got Al-Hassan also on the line. Al-Hassan from Accra. Al-Hassan, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, Al-Hassan.
Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam. I'd like to contribute to this very important subject which has solution to which has eluded us over many years. I'd like to begin first of all by correcting some information that our friend or brother, that fine eloquent speaker, IRBAD IBRAHIM, gave when he said that it was after the demolition of the old Mokola Mosque that the Awudu Moro land was given to the Muslims. That is not correct. For issues of history of a society such as a Muslim society, we need to send out to the media correct information. The information about Awudu Moro is that it was acquired in April 1967 during the days of the NLC, National Liberation Council. And the Awudu Moro land is owned by the Ghana Muslim community. There is a document which in fact was signed by Mr. J.V.L. Phillips. Now,
yes, Al-Hassan, I want to know what's the point? What's your point here? I'm a bit lost.
My point is I'm correcting information. When on such a powerful way we are told that Awudu Moro was given out after the demolition of the Mokola Mosque, it's not correct because Mokola Mosque was demolished during the days of the PNDC in 1986. In August 86.
All right.
And Awudu Moro was acquired way back in 1967. Look at the years in between.
All right. So thanks.
Very important.
Thank you very much, Al-Hassan, for that correction. But we want to deal with the meat of the issue. As for who cleared what and who took over what, that's. But Al-Hassan, thank you very much for that quick correction. Let me go to Latif from Akwete. Latif, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, sir, Assalamu
alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, brother.
God also bless you for this wonderful issue you brought for discussion. My contribution is that my brother in the studio made an assertion that there are some people within or who are working in the office of the chief imam, and for some reasons best known to them, They don't want anything good coming up. I would like to suggest, if as in, the chief imam is alive, if they can appoint somebody to be an acting chief imam as he's alive, if that would be possible, so that after the man is gone, there will not be any problem, because we are all aware of what is happening. Because we don't want any future occurrence to come and say, we said the Zongos are, fighting, they are million causes. We don't want such in Ghana. So I would like to propose that if it would be possible that they can choose somebody that this person to be an acting chief imam, so that in the case the national chief imam is gone, then that one just easily steps into the chief imam's shoes. I think that's what I just want to propose. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Hello?
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Let me go to now. Good. Now, this one is not a call. Actually, we called him on, and we called him to talk to him about this matter. His Alhaj SALISU MAUDE is joining us on the line. He is, I want to believe, SALISU, please correct me here. I think you are the chief of the Hausa youth or something. SALISU, are you able to correct me on that? Good morning.
Yeah, you're very right on that. Good morning, Awudu.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, he's one of the key stakeholders when it comes to the Islamic community. So, SALISU, indeed, we're having a conversation this morning with one Alhaj Razzaq Khailann. Now, very, very concerned man indeed about the way forward. Should the chief imam pass on today, there's no clear succession plan. There's just too many people who are close to the chief imam who really are not there because they care about their office, but they care about themselves, their self-aggrandizement and so on. I've also been talking to IRBAD, who's one of the, finest brains that we have when it comes to, knowledge of Islam, who's also said that, look, we must really start having a conversation about this chief imam issue, because let's not behave like the proverbial ostrich, and that if the chief imam passes on without a clearly laid down procedure as to how we get a new chief imam is really going to land us in some kind of trouble. But the point where we brought you in is that Alhaj Razzaq Khailann said that your family, that's a Qadri, the English of the Qadri English also family,
yes,
has played a very key role historically in the election or selection appointment of a chief imam, and so you are expected to do much more in intervening in this matter. I don't know that, but generally, what are your thoughts about this matter, SALISU?
You see, I've been obviously, I think for the past week or so, the airwaves have been inundated with these calls. I mean, they are healthy. They actually tells you how far we've come, how aware people are, and how forward-thinking as a society we've all become. You see, I welcome this argument. But there's one thing I would want to make clear, Awudu. The issue of succession has not come up at all, because the chief imam has a deputy. Now, the argument may be that his deputy is even older than he is, or something like that, but he still has a deputy. So, should the chief imam pass away and leave his deputy automatically becomes the chief imam. I don't know where all this is coming from, but if we should use the deputy national chief imam, that is when we go looking for a deputy national chief imam. But the issue of succession has not even come up, because he has a deputy already, a well-known deputy. So should he supersede his deputy, then his deputy automatically becomes the chief imam. But let me make one point clear here. When you look at the issue of appointing an imam, like my uncle Alhaj Razzaq Khailann rightly said, you need to look at the genesis of how the imam was picked. You need to study the history of the various imams that we've had, and at what stage did it actually get the title National Chief Imam. I believe when you study all of this, or when you read or understand this issue, then you would know that this is not an issue at all, because there are houses, there are the Yoruba Chief's Palace, which is the Peregrino Brahma families. You have the Qadri English, like he rightfully said. You have the Mal and Sule, Bako families. Now, these are families in Accra. Of course, I'm limiting this to Accra. But as to how it became national, I will leave it for those who are better placed to discuss this. But when we look at the genesis, it was initially the Accra Imam that has metamorphosized by virtue of its position as the national capital, become the national chief imam that everyone is so much interested in now. So you see, Awudu, it is important to look at the genesis, the history. Then you will understand all the politics that is at play. But I believe that, like I said in my earlier session, I do believe that, look, we have a national chief imam and he has a deputy. So there is a hierarchy in place. There's this issue of security calls here and there. We are not there now, unless you tell me there is someone who really wants to throw up a challenge to the status quo, who would really want the status quo to be changed. And that is when we'll have a problem. But if there are, I hope you understand.
I follow. Yes, I follow your argument.
If you follow this and you are a student of that history, you know that there is a mechanism in place already to take care of these issues. So I believe that is my own submission. Unless there are any further questions.
So I think so. Essentially, what you're suggesting is that there isn't an issue. I mean, if he has a deputy, that's in itself a clear succession plan in case the chief imam, joins the ancestors. Somebody's going to take over. So really, there's all this hullabaloo about, there are dark clouds hanging in the skies. Should the man pass on? Should the chief imam pass on? There's going to be problems as to who succeeds him and so on. It's neither here nor there.
No, you see, when it's neither here nor there. But my point is this: you see, when you have someone who has been a leader for this long, you see, we as Hausas have a saying that goes like Baba Juji. There will be a lot of problems that Chief Imam will preside over that you don't know. So it's obvious that his passing will create a little. Not little. It will create some form of misunderstanding because we believe that you can't have an elderly or a man of that importance if exits, and then you wouldn't have all these petty squabbles here and there. Of course they can. How you manage it will be the thing. That's what I'm saying. If you are a student of that history, if you know what has happened, I mean, those who are way older than us will be aware that, look, there were issues when even he was being nominated as national chief imam. I remember there were struggles, even though we were very young. I remember working with my uncle, the late Ali Kadiri English, when we went there, and he even had to hand over the turbine to one late Malam. He got to turbine the national chief imam. We saw all of these little misunderstandings will definitely come, but we scaled through it. I don't anticipate any, as it stands now, I do not anticipate any serious problems. No, not at all. Maybe when it comes to the issue of the title National Chief Imam, then maybe the other regions will also say that, no, it's time, if this time around, if it came from Accra the last time, maybe this time around it should come from Kumasi or West. You understand what I mean? Moro. Other than that, we have the custodian of our mosque in Accra. If by virtue of his position as the capital, whoever succeeds the national chief imam automatically assumes the title of national chief imam or not. You see, we are dealing with two issues here, I believe. We have Sheikh Usman Nuhu Sharubutu, who is an individual who has carved out a niche for himself, and then he happens to be the national chief imam. So, but from the beginning, he was the imam of Accra, and then he happens to be the national chief imam. You understand my point? Right? So we are dealing with two issues here. There is an individual who has extremely done well for himself and covered a very good niche for himself. So I hope we are not comparing whoever that will be coming back as, oh, the person definitely has to be Usman Nuhu Sharubutu.
I see.
No.
Let me get back to, but Salisu, the thing is that before I go back to Alhaj Razzaq Khailann, I'm throwing a formal invitation to you on the air so that people will know that I've invited you into the studio and you didn't turn up. So you're actually been invited to the studio tomorrow at 9 o'clock. We have a date. That's if you are not, yes, if you're not going to be very busy or tight tomorrow at 9 a.m. If it's possible, we can have you in the studio because there's a lot we can talk about when it comes to the Hausa youth and also this issue about the successions plan matter. We can have a more comprehensive discussion about it because you are a descendant or a product of the family that's been very instrumental in choosing for the Islamic community or the Islamic Ummah who their chief imam is. So if you don't mind, can we have 9 o'clock? Can we have it 9 o'clock tomorrow in the studio?
You're throwing this on air for me.
Yes, it's very intentional.
When off air, we will discuss
it's very intentional because I know how dodgy you can be, Salisu. So can we have your 9 tomorrow?
What do you mean dodgy? You have to be careful before you send my.
No, when I say dodgy, what I'm saying is you could call me later and say, Charlie, I can't make it. So I want you to promise the people that you are coming so that they know that you've made a promise that you're coming. But anyway, like you said, we'll talk about it off air. But Alhaji, really, I mean, listening to what Salisu, please hold on, please. If listening to what Chief Salisu is saying, maybe we're raising red herrings when there's none. Actually, I mean, it doesn't look like the issue is as bad as we're suggesting.
In the first place, you don't call my nephew dodgy. All right?
I retract it.
Beautiful. I know you're a gentleman. You do that.
I retract it.
You see, he made a very brilliant submission,
right,
and brought out the chronicle of the scenarios, very well structured.
Right.
This structure he's talking about, we all know about it. It's just with time now, it's just an apparent thing. Okay? Because at the tail end of his submission,
right,
he brought in the issue of the national chief imam, which is very, very, very crucial.
Right.
So doing it on the local basis couldn't be a big issue at all. The father is elevated to the national level. That is where the problem is.
Okay.
So that's the thing we are well concerned about.
Right.
And I told him a lot earlier on that the national chief imam is the topmost who's so worried about this issue more than anybody. Look, I got into closer to this.
But you see, but we're trying to interrogate the source of this worry because from what Chief Salisu is just telling us, I mean, if the man, if Doc has or Sheikh has his deputy, it then stands to reason that when he's no more, the deputy takes over. And that's, of course, I should probably be more educated as to how it works, even with the deputy.
You see, in the normal...
Is it automatic?
It's automatic.
Right.
In the normal circumstances, it couldn't have been an issue. But Sheikh Kamaluddin, who is it? Physically, he's so incapacitated.
Oh, he's very old.
He's very incapacitated. Even the national chief imam is a lot stronger than he is. I mean, we need to face the fact.
Right.
So there are certain things you don't wait for it to happen, before you try putting a fire brigade approach to it.
Right.
So you need to be very, very careful. Put in the contingencies, As we're saying, all that we're talking about the antecedents and blah, 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 there's just something on an oral level. We need to get something properly documented.
Right.
Let me tell you one thing. I think there was a time you had the chairman of the heart board here and
right,
to make a contribution. Correct.
Right.
You see, a couple of years ago, our president, in his capacity as a vice president, attended the Maulid Nabi at the National Chief Imam's forecourt.
Right.
And he expressed concern about the way the issues of Muslims is hanging,
right.
I mean, just on an autopilot kind of situation.
Right.
That he wanted to see a situation where issues of the Muslims concerning the Hajj, concerning the Eid, I mean, the generality of the Muslims will be captured in the constitutional instrument.
Okay.
So that everything happens, you refer to the template as the constitution.
Right, the LI, we call it.
And the Muslims are not doing anything about it. I expected to get the Muslim clergy, leadership of chiefs and the imams, to move on. Now, God so good. The man is now the president.
Right.
And he made that comment to the ear of the whole Muslim community.
Right.
Why don't you hold his leg to the fire and say, look, Mr. President, this is what you said a couple of years ago. We want this thing to actualize so that we can set up professional lawyers, social commentators, communication experts, to look at how we can fashion the proper modalities to set as a template so the issues of Muslims will be properly regulated on the basis of the constitutional instrument. That is what I think the Muslims should do. You see, I made the comment, and I'll still make it every day. I'll make it 2 million times. The chiefs are not helping us.
Yeah, this is what I wanted. Let me bring Chief Salisu here. Yeah. Chief, this is not. This is about the 10th time that Alhaj Razzaq Khailann is making this call that our Muslim chiefs are not being up to the task. I mean, they've gone to sleep. I mean, if we all do know that traditionally they've been very instrumental, they've been that involved in resolving some of these issues. Why have they gone to sleep all of a sudden? I mean, do you agree that the Muslim chiefs have gone to sleep?
My uncle Alhaj Razzaq is saying that Muslim chiefs have gone to sleep. You see, sometimes he might be wearing. The reason, you see, what you don't understand is my uncle he's an insider. So there must be certain issues that if my uncle is saying that, Muslims have been asleep on certain, Muslim chiefs have been asleep on certain issues, I will agree. Not necessarily. That's his opinion, and I believe that's what he's saying. But I do trust his opinion anyway. But I don't see them to have slept on almost every other issue. But it is like this call that Alhaj Razzaq Khailann is making. Indeed, it is true. These are the responsibilities of the Muslim chiefs to ensure that, look, there's a peaceful, not even if not secession, but there is a peaceful cohesion in our communities. But for some reason that's known to them, we do have a deficit in that area. Now, this discussion, this will be some topic that we can discuss on another day. But looking at the current trend, looking at what is happening, they really need to up their game. They really need to be visible. They really need to be seen and heard more often and be seen as, doing their work. Then I believe that is when they will start getting the recognition that they duly deserve. But as it stands now, the Office of the National Chief Imam is the powerful institution that is seen and heard. And you see, it's not only by divine providence or something, but it has been through hard work. You see, the National Chief Imam is a hard-working man. He has put in a lot of place. He has put together a good team, which I believe at one point Alhaj Abdul Razzaq Khailann was serving on one of the committees. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he has put in a lot of effort. So his office now looks more professional than most of the offices that the Muslim chiefs do have. So that has made them look very organized. And if you are looking for somebody in the Muslim community, you definitely go to the one that looks very organized. So if my dear uncle is saying that the duties of the Muslim chiefs have been relegated to the background, then I will agree with him that it is partly to their doing. I think on that note, they have a lot of work to do.
Okay. My final question to you, it's Chief Salisu, will be that do you agree that the age of the deputy is also a source of concern? I mean, yes, if the chief imam is not there, his deputy will take over, but his age is also a big concern. I mean, we don't want to have a chief imam whose tenure will be short-lived.
Are you talking about his age or his physical ability? As Muslims, we believe that age does not really matter.
Well, I know. I think it's more like I think it's more of his capacity. I mean, if you look at his aging, basically. I mean, and so let's be real here.
It's not in his favor.
There are instances where we've had the likes of Sheikh Ishaq Abu Bakr, who happens to be a direct brother to the deputy national chief imam.
Right.
You know, and he's been acting pretty well. You see, but maybe my uncle Alhaj Razzaq will say that, look, we definitely need someone. But you see, there is one thing in Islam. The succession, you normally discuss succession when the person has exited. That is when you discuss succession. But if you start discussing succession now, it's an entirely different thing altogether. And it hasn't been seen during the time of any of during the time of the prophets or the four rightly guarded caliphs, like we call them. So this is where we take our inspiration from. So succession normally is discussed when one has exited. But like Alhaj Khailann rightfully said, we are in an era where this sort of things will have to be. You see, sometimes you just have to make some certain moves just to ensure, how do I put it, progression, or just to ensure the peace that we all enjoy. So I think if it is a call for a national debate or an awareness, then it is in good order. Whatever it is we discuss there, is only posterity that will judge what we've done right or wrong in this matter. But like I rightfully said, people have been acting, even in the presence of National Chief Imam. He's had able deputies who have been executing the work of imamship. So I believe that the call is in order, but it's not that grave. We don't. It's not that serious a problem. It's not a matter of life and death.
All right.
But I just believe that it's a good call.
All right.
Yes.
Chief SALISU Mord, thank you very much. He actually was my senior in Adisado College, and so enough respect. I'll call you after the show. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. That's SALISU, Chief SALISU Mord. He's actually the leader of the Hausa youth. I think for Greater Accra.
That's right.
For Greater Accra, right? So, just briefly. Oh, I'm told I've got Abdul on the line from Nima. Abdul, I think you called earlier, didn't you, Abdul?
Yes.
Yes.
That's a snappy one.
Right.
I think my brother Salis, like you rightly described it, is dodging some of the issues. Anyway, any Muslim who is very much aware of the Shia Sunni split that has beleaguered the Muslim Ummah to this day will realize the urgency of what we are asking today. The Holy Prophet Muhammad left a vacuum. Many people have their own interpretations, and that is what created the Shia Sunni split. Because people did not actually see the Prophet categorically appointing somebody to succeed him. And like we are all saying, society has moved on. We are educated, we are enlightened. If you leave a vacuum, you are creating the avenue for those who want to cause trouble to intervene. So the earlier we intervene, we call the stakeholder forum or meetings or whatever, the better for the Muslim Ummah. That is the only solution that we have. Nobody should beat about the bush. They were talking about the antecedents in the past. Only in Accra. Today Islam, my brother said, it is national now. National. You cannot discuss Islam today without bringing people in the north. You can't discuss Islam today without bringing people in the south and east and west. People know what is happening. Please.
Okay, thank you.
Those who are there have done their part. Let us help them so that we don't leave a bad legacy.
Yeah, but Abdul, I don't know whether you listened to SALISU when I called him. I mean, like he said, there's actually a deputy. So where's your source of worry?
Now, if these things are not documented, there is no succession plan. I think that is the issue you have to discuss. We all know there's a deputy. So if the deputy is no longer there, what happens? We are talking of putting in place a system documented.
Well, thank you. I guess we'll end the phone-ins now because we don't have a lot of time. We have to move on. I'll take my concluding remarks from Alhaj Khailann, because time is fast spent. Indeed, we're supposed to have ended the show at 10, but because of how important this matter is and how serious it is, we've just decided to extend the time. But Alhaj Khailann, I don't know what are concluding remarks. So where do we move from here? Where do we go from here?
Let me tell you what I can appreciate Alhaj Salisu's passion and the way he was going about it,
Right.
I think he's all what he's saying is a product of his youthful exuberance.
Right.
We don't have to wait for the eminent thing to happen, before we try looking at succession issues. We need to have a template, as a look. This is the trajectory that we want to go through in the event. We should be looking beyond the national chief imams, and we need to put a structure in place. And you see, I will say it 2 million times, the chiefs needs to wake up. It is their responsibility. They are community leaders. We appreciate it. But we're going to go after them if they don't they don't keep it up, they don't keep up the social strength and do what is supposed to them.
Right.
For them to do. And you see, one thing too which is very worrying now as we sit here in Accra, is the office the mosque at the Kaokudi junction. It took the instrumentality of the president to the public to get the Turkish people to look at that project. I think by now we should be thinking of a committee to manage that mosque.
Right.
And we don't want to have a situation where people will say, "Oh, we are the Accra people." I mean, we were here before even the Gulf of Guinea was structured, and so blah 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 blah. It's a national asset. It's a national mosque. We need to set up committee, comprising all the relevant, Muslim organization who have some credibility. I mean, a standing committee, because there are going to be various subcommittees. It's a very huge enterprise sitting in there, and it's going to be the centerpiece, the central of the Muslims, in this country. So we need to look at this thing very critically, look at people who are professional administrators, accountants, architects, and people who have what it takes to ensure proper management of this mosque, So that is one thing, we should be looking at.
Right, that's another
Muslims
issue
in this country.
Right.
And in any of these scenarios, it is the chiefs who need to lead the pack. So don't worry, we have plans for them. If they're not going to work, we're going to get them to work.
Well, I'll try and invite Chief Salisu into to the studio tomorrow for us to have some discussions about this matter.
It's a developing issue.
It's a developing issue.
We need to follow it to
the logical conclusion.
I'm so glad that you've taken it up. We've seen a lot of media, Muslim media guys.
They probably don't care.
They wouldn't touch it even with a 50-feet pole. Meanwhile, they are the people who will be showing off all over the place. You're very quiet people. A lot of people here, but they've not met me. Right. I took advantage of invitation. My father, my daughter was here, to know you and know the environment here.
Absolutely.
But there are people there who will show their faces all over the place. Zilch. They will tell you, ask for this. What the hell do you mean ask for this?
It's untouchable.
And the people come around and say, ask for Alhaj Razzaq, he doesn't fear. What the hell do you mean by that? Look, tomorrow
you're supposed to be scared. Why aren't you scared?
Why should I be scared? You see, you are one of my admirers, which I believe strongly.
Right.
If I should die today, you are the very first people in the front line to make sure I'm quickly buried. Right. Pack me there.
Right.
Pack all the heap of the sound of
right.
And you're going to turn away in the next 50 minutes. Would I know what I'm seeing, what I'm going to face in that is what is driving me.
Right.
That's the spirit behind me, so that the little contribution I can make to put clarity on the issues, to put the shine that the Muslim, the Islam as an enterprise deserve, I got to do that, and I can never renege on that responsibility.
Thank you very much.
I'm very glad. Thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure having you in the studio. And
Almighty Allah will bless you, my brother.
Thank you so much.
It's a developing story.
Yes.
Please. We want to take it up as a crusade.
We will follow it up.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that are going to come up. And if you keep your ears on the ground, you're going to hear a lot of things.
Right.
So we can build a synopsis for further discussions.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I agree. Have a good day, sir. Thank you so much.
Good day to you, my brother. I'm so happy to be here. Trust me.
And I'm happy to have you in the studio as well.
Correct.
Have a good day.
Correct.
Bye-bye, Alhaji.
Trust me. Good show. Thank you very much.
All right, then.